it's hard to play quarterback when you're not upright. And through the first 2 weeks of the regular season, no quarterback has been sacked more times with less than 2.5 seconds in the pocket than Eli Manning. So the reality is he doesn't have time to operate the offense. I don't care who you are. If you're Tom Brady, if you're Aaron Rodgers, if you don't have time to be able to throw the football, if your protection is consistently breaking down, then your quarterback is not going to be able to be effective. He's not going to be accurate. Things are not going to be on time. And so I think with Eli Manning, we've seen this over the last couple of seasons, his protection breaking down on him. All of the hits, all of the pressure has an accumulative effect. And right now, Eli Manning is feeling that pressure. It's going to be hard for the Giants offense to get on track.
Certainly higher expectations for the Giants this year than last year. One of the big reasons is Odell Beckham Jr. is back on the field. In your opinion, watching this team, Chris, what part of this ball club did you expect to be better that is not?
The offensive line, and that's because they had 4 new starters from a year ago. Now, John Jalapio, their center, he's out for the year with a broken leg, so they're going to have John Greco step in. But everybody has been selling us that the offensive line for the New York Giants would be drastically improved. We saw Pat Shermer do that a couple of these off seasons ago in Minnesota when he retooled that offensive line. He brought in 2 free agents to play tackle and drafted a center, and that worked out for that group. And so they thought that they would be able to potentially do that here, and then, of course, adding the running back Saquon Barkley with the 2nd overall pick, the offense would be able to have more balance. It'd be more dynamic. It just hasn't all worked out because your offensive line is so bad.
Well, that is true, Chris. But listen, this stat blew my mind when we looked this up the other day. The New York Giants have gone 34 games in the NFL without scoring 30 points. 34 straight games. That can't just be about the offensive line.
Well, I don't understand why you would think it'd be about something else, Trey. If you don't have guys up front that can block, your offense is going to be inconsistent. That's why we see the New York Giants over the last 3 seasons. They'll have splash plays offensively. You'll see the long touchdowns to Beckham. You'll see those big plays in the passing game, but you haven't seen consistency. You haven't seen this team be able to put together 8, 10, 12-play drives consistently, and that's because your offensive line is so leaky that it allows the defense to create negative plays, and it keeps you from being able to have any sustained offense. So that's why you haven't seen the Giants score 30 points in 34 games. That's the reality of it. It ain't fantasy football. You got to have big guys up front that can block. If you don't have that, you have no offense.
So before we move on to the Jets and their game tonight, one more from me about the Giants. So, I mean, basically, are we saying the rest of this year there is basically no hope for a winning season?
Well, here's what I'll say. I think Pat Shermer has to fix his offense. He's got to tweak he's got to tweak the things that they thought they would be able to do coming into this year based on the improvements that they thought they made with the offensive line. I think it's got to be more about the quick passing game, being able to throw those smokes, those bubbles out to wide receivers and see if they can make somebody miss one-on-one in space. I think they got to incorporate more screen game. But ultimately, it becomes about getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands as quickly as possible because you've seen the protection break down consistently around him. So I think they've got to tweak some things. They're going to have to do it on the fly. You probably practice all off-season, OTAs, minicamp, and training camp with a certain offense in mind. But they're going to have to change their plan because the offensive line hasn't performed to the standard that they thought it would.